Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have a man who works directly with early-stage founders to build, launch, and grow A-plus products. He is currently the founder of Fractional Jobs, where they help companies reach and recruit senior-level talent for fractional leadership roles. Fractionally speaking, we've got Taylor Crane here on Thrive Loud. Taylor, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Thank you so much, Lou. Happy to be here.
Had the chance to chat with Taylor before we recorded a couple of days earlier to queue up our conversation. I'm fascinated by his business and what he's about and what he's doing. And it's kind of a cool story, but I don't want to share it. I want you to do it. I want to go back a little bit here, Taylor. Help the listeners understand how you navigated your way to Fractional Jobs.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give the quick 30 seconds. So my background's in tech and software. I worked in startups for 10, 15 years now. I started my first company at the very beginning of 2020. That was a venture-backed company, and it was quite the roller coaster ride. For several years, I built it, and then I ended up selling it in 2023. It was not for like a super meaningful exit or anything. In fact, it was actually I was quite beat up by the end of it. As I said, it was it was a tumultuous journey for sure. And after that all finished, I was faced with what it is that I wanted to do next in my career. And the thing that spoke to me most was because I had such a rough first go as a founder. I felt like what spoke to me most was wanting to help other early stage founders on their journey and do it with what I know best, which is product management specifically. And so that's kind of how I fell into doing fractional work myself. I did fractional work for about a year as a fractional head of product, working with several early stage startups. And that's what got me exposed to the fractional world in the first place, and fell in love with it, fell in love with doing the work. And I think more importantly, fell in love with the benefits of startups hiring fractional leaders for their business at critical moments. And that's what eventually led me to starting Fractional Jobs.
Let's go right there, because I think that is probably what most of the listeners, myself, you, we have observed a complete transformation in even the mindset of leaderships and what they need within organizations. And I would say strongly over the last 10 years, and definitely over the last, we'll call it 5 to 7 years, people playing fractional roles almost part-time, if you would. I hate using that term because no one knows how to chop all the times, but fractional specific roles and jobs within the workspace. Can you share a little bit about that mind shift change that you've experienced in your career for people saying, oh, I need somebody full-time in my organization to take on this role, versus I really just need someone for a specific amount of time or a certain role on this, that I need this skill set that I need right now, and I want to bring this fractional person in here. Share what you've seen in the industry on how that has grown over the last few years.
I think that there's a few impetuses behind why it's happening now, and why why now is the time for this. I think maybe most importantly is COVID and the proliferation of remote work. Remote work in a lot of ways is a precursor to fractional work. It's quite difficult to do fractional work when you're commuting, to 3 different clients at different offices, let's say in Manhattan or in San Francisco. So that's kind of a precursor. I think also in the in the what we call the post ZERP era, right? The post zero interest rate era, when early stage startups are more cash conscious, are more profit focused, and less growth at all costs. I think they see fractional leaders as a great bargain. And then I think also just as you over the last number of decades, as freelance work has more broadly has begun to really take the mainstream, I think that's like lent itself naturally towards understanding the benefits of fractional, which is a subset of freelance. Yeah, happy to go into more detail, but I think those are like the three pillars of like why this is happening now.
I'm even going to take it one other level. Let's now flip the other side. Let's take it from the B side, or the business side, or the organization that's looking for the roles, to the people that are actually doing the jobs and taking the roles. Let's talk about the universe of people that have jumped into fractional working, fractional jobs, fractional ways of thinking of themselves. From your experience looking at that audience and how that is, I mean, exploded is an understatement. I also think it's become a direction that a lot of people at different stages in their career have also moved into. Share your experience and purview with that group.
Yeah, there are so many motivations for jumping into the fractional world. And there are different like categories of people that are doing it. I think broadly, like maybe the most broad way of describing it is, I think it's a group of people that are deciding for one reason or another to opt out of the traditional employer-employee relationship. A very good example of like a common, archetype of fractional worker is someone that we call like a second act executive. So they are 40, 50, 60 years old. They've really been there, done that. They've had 20, 30 plus year long careers in the corporate world, and they're looking for a change of pace. Maybe they're looking to spend more time with their family. Maybe they're looking to work on higher impact work, and that tends to often happen at earlier stage companies, even nonprofits and small businesses. So that's one example of like of why someone would quote unquote go fractional. I think there's also a lot of folks, but I can particularly speak to the tech industry, a lot of folks that are in the like 10 to 20 year range in their career that are more like fed up with the corporate grind and see fractional work as a way to take more control for themselves of their career. They have an opportunity to make more money doing fractional work. They get more control of their time. It's less of an employer-employee relationship, and it's more of a partnership that you're forging with your clients. The list really goes on. But yeah, those are two, I think, good examples of archetypes.
So now I'm going to bring this all to a head and connect this all together, because there is something fascinating going on in the workplace. We spent a whole month back in October of 24 talking about making the workplace better. And a common theme, obviously, that came up was culture. And I think it's important that obviously there are certain roles and certain positions within organizations that need to be full-time and for different types of organizations. But obviously with the interjection of people doing fractional jobs, how do we make sure that we can maintain whatever the culture and the vision and the direction that a certain company is looking for, and incorporate these other incredible resources externally so that it all fits? Help me bring that all together, because I think that before we get into what fractional jobs is all about, I would love to talk about that big challenge, because that's something that has been prevalent. And if there's ever a hesitation for anybody to say, this is, something I'm not comfortable maybe doing because it might be messing with this, I'd love to hear your take on that.
I'm going to be honest. I think this is an open question. The fractional work movement, I think, has really started to pick up speed over the last 2 years in particular. And so what that means is there's a lot of unanswered questions about what fractional work looks like successfully and how to properly integrate it into a growing startup or a small business. And I think the culture question is a great question. I've heard many stories on both sides of the spectrum, stories where culturally it just wasn't the right fit, and stories where culturally it was an absolutely incredible fit. Random quick story, but like my very first job out of college, this is now like almost 15 years ago, we had a fractional CMO at the company for a time, and we didn't use that term because this is a long time ago, so we didn't call it a fractional CMO. But like looking back, she worked 3 days a week. She came to the office 3 days a week and led the marketing team. And I'll be honest, like as like a entry level employee working 12 hours a day with a bunch of others folks that are doing the same thing, we kind of looked at that and we were like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it didn't make sense to us, right? I think that speaks more to a lack of understanding on the behalf of like the company itself on like how to properly communicate who this person was, what they were doing, what they were not doing, et cetera. It was more of an expectation mismanagement than it was like something fundamental about the work itself. But yeah, I mean, so I guess to bring it back, like It's an open question, and I think in remote work allows it to blend much more seamlessly than in person work. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think there are certain functions where that the fractional aspect might not work, and then there are components where I think it works up to a certain point. Your CMO initiative, maybe the company needed launching a product and they needed a specialist that was focused on the messaging and marketing of bringing something into the space. And that's what they love to do. And then they go off and go do that on another assignment. But when it comes to the overall messaging and brand strategy, right, we always want to have someone that's on the page and understands what the message and direction of a growing organization could be. So I think that those key C-level roles probably tap into less fractionality or fractionally, if you will, than others. But I do believe at certain points in time, every one of those are the case. I'll use this place that the CEO role has been a fractional job. Many private equity organizations, another CEO has left. They bring someone in to run it for a certain period of time until they find the best fit for the organization. And that's what they do. So I think that I believe, and I think what you're onto, and I'm going to segue to this business you've created. I think it is a very important function that, depending on the place and time, it is exactly what an organization needs at that moment. Maybe not always in the long term, and that's hence the reason why it's got great flexibility. So that's my take on it. But you have a really cool take on this because you've created a business around this. Share with the listeners what fractionaljobs.io, we'll give the plug section here, we talk about it, but Fractional Jobs, what it is, how it works, and so the listeners can understand, hey, you've created, and by the way, I was laughing, it's almost 30 years since the internet came out and started creating the online job markets, the monsters.com, the first job sites, and here we are 27, 28 some odd years later, and something new is coming here. Share with the listeners the gift that you've given the world here in Fractional Jobs.
Sure. So Fractional Jobs is the talent marketplace for fractional leaders. We work with mostly early stage startups, venture-backed startups, bootstrap startups, also nonprofits too. And we help them hire fractional leaders across about 10 different function areas. We do a lot of fractional CMOs, like marketing leadership, a lot of fractional CTOs, which is engineering leadership. Fractional CFOs are incredibly popular. But then like a long tail of other roles that we work on, fractional general counsels, fractional chief information security officers. It's really like we work on all kinds of roles that are targeting like expert level talent that are needed, in an organization, part-time. That's basically it. Yeah.
In creating this platform, and by the way, this is awesome. By the way, I love having guests on the program who are filling a need. There is a gap out there because there hasn't been a steady place to find identically where somebody has their fractional job or where that goes to. In bringing this all together and coming up with the idea, I'd love to hear the inception of it and what sparked it and said, aha, we got to do this. What was the aha moment?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I was doing fractional work, as I said, and I was in the thick of it. And a very important learning for me was that it was very hard to find clients. And in particular, like in talking and networking with other fractional leaders, that was like the thing that stuck out the most to me. And it is actually, when you start doing the work, it becomes quite obvious as to why. The most challenging part of the job is finding clients to work with. And I think maybe the inspiration or the motivation behind it all was the realization that you could be the most exceptional, talented person in your function area, like the most exceptional CTO on planet Earth. But if you don't have a sizable enough network to sustain inbound lead generation for new clients, you're not going to be successful doing fractional work today. It really, like 90% of collectively speaking, the fractional world, our clients come from the person's network. And that felt like the big opportunity for me.
Yeah.
So that's like the specific inspiration. And then more broadly is like, as a hirer, you can go onto Upwork.com or Fiverr.com and you can hire freelance talent offshore for $25 an hour and get access to, so much great, amazing talent, but tends to be freelance, more junior, like more like, specific task oriented type stuff. And nothing existed for hiring someone that was a true expert in their field to come into your organization part-time. So
yeah. I'll share a personal story when I learned about Taylor's venture and I heard what this was about. I have someone very close to my family who does fractional work and who's at complete capacity. There's no more fractions left to chop anything off. But we had the conversation when I presented the idea. Her immediate reaction was, well, I don't have a time to even put any of this stuff out there. But when I do have a fraction that opens up, I now am glad that there's a place that I can go to. And I thought that was perfect because we look for jobs when we're looking for jobs and we look for fractional work when we're looking for it. And you've created the environment that works there. For people who run companies and want to, I'm going to bring forward the plug section so you can do this right now, make it very tactical because we'll get into some of the ins and outs. Let's do that now. Share with the listeners and viewers, Taylor, if you are an organization looking for people to fill that role, or you're an individual who's a fractional worker, help connect the dots on how they can play and how it all works at your organization. Plug section is yours.
Yeah. So for hires, for founders and business owners, it's a very white glove service. And so you're working directly with me. And so that means if you're interested in exploring what this looks like, you can reach out to me directly. You can go to fractionaljobs.io and there's a big, book a call with Taylor button. You can also just email me directly. Hopefully, Lou, we can put my email in the show notes. It's just tc@fractionaljobs.io. So yeah, you're working with me directly. I handhold you through the entire process end to end.
Perfect. And if you are somebody looking for the job, obviously they go to the website and that's where they can upload their information and stuff like that.
Yeah, the call to action there is go to fractionaljobs.io, enter your email address, and that gets you into our network. And then we start sending you job alerts in your specific function area. And then also like playbooks and content that I write about doing fractional work successfully. It's, hopefully, I think I'm building a great set of resources for fractional leaders breaking into the space.
Let's double click down on you doing this work. For someone that loves to work with early stage founders, has done some of this before, had, a good/bad experience, either way you want to look at it from the previous learnings in your life. What are you bringing to the table in this initiative that's a little different? How are you approaching this venture from the lessons that you've learned before?
Oh, man. So many things. I mean, for starters, I'm building fractional jobs bootstrapped. So my last company was a venture-backed company. I think there's absolutely a time and a place to raise venture capital for your business. I just, at the time, assumed that it was the case for all businesses, and I think that's not true at all. I'm so happy to be building fractional jobs bootstrapped. It presents a new set of challenges, but I'm finding them, frankly, a lot more enjoyable than building a venture-backed business, at least right now. That's for starters. I'm also very much in the ethos of a solopreneur type mindset. So I'm a solo founder. I'm the only full-time employee of the company. And the goal is to have a large impact with a small team. And again, that's kind of sort of a counter to the ethos of a typical venture-backed startup. I'm also just on a personal level, just trying to have more fun with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's trying to enjoy the process of building more, because at the end of the day, that is what I spend all my time doing. It's easy for me to get super stressed and wound up about the work that I do. I'm not perfect at this, but that's also something that I'm intentionally trying to apply to this venture.
Let's go there. I love asking the guests that we have on this program, specifically those thriving in their lives, their businesses, and their passions, because this is a passion of what you're doing, and it's something that you've been doing. This is why you're here on ThriveLoud. We all have those days when we're not kicking on all cylinders. You were just hinting and alluding to those things do happen to you. When you're not thriving, Taylor, is there a practice you seek or an individual you seek out to help get yourself back on the thriving track?
That's a great question. I think that my life does revolve around my work. That is the top priority. And so, but what that means is when I feel like when I feel like I need inspiration or motivation or getting out of a rut or feel like I'm not thriving, I just tend to look to the things outside of work that give me joy, right? So right now it's a lot of playing tennis, meeting new friends. I just moved to a new city, and so meeting some new friends and that tends to kick me back pretty quickly into a motivated Taylor zone, which is where I thrive.
Love it. But he's coming to us, by the way, from Tulum, Mexico. I don't know what the purple hue is about, but it definitely has a good look there.
I can tell you, it's the hex code of Fractional Jobs, actually. So this is the color purple for the brand.
I was going to ask because I'm looking at the website next to you on this image here, and it does have a similar thing. I love that. Look at you getting all brandy here. Give the big vision. Give the short, medium, and long-term vision for what you're trying to achieve with Fractional Jobs. And come to it because we have lots of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, CEOs, and leaders who listen to this program. Put it from that position, and so that's who you're talking to, and that message on the leading of this Fractional Jobs business, what you're seeing in this different horizons that I've set for you to explain.
Sure. So most broadly, the mission for the company is to accelerate the fractional work movement. And there are a lot of ways that can be done. I'm doing some of them now, and I have ideas, for the future. Like I said earlier, I very, very strongly believe that the fractional work movement is the next future of work movement after remote work. And I think it will be as big as remote work. And I think just like remote work, when we fast forward 10, 20 years into the future, when we look back on the fractional work trend, I think it will feel obvious in hindsight to us and almost like silly, as if we didn't, how did we not think of that before as collectively as a society or as an industry? And so back to the company mission, I think it's inevitable that's happening, right? So my goal is not to make that happen, but my goal is to accelerate that happening. And the way that I'm doing that today is focused on the talent marketplace, number one. So matching more and more companies with more and more fractional leaders that are relevant to them. Number two, education, content, the playbooks that I'm writing that help both fractional leaders, and I'm also starting to write and create content for hirers to get up to speed on what it looks like to hire fractional successfully. I think there's a really interesting dynamic here that, and this speaks now to the medium term vision for what I'm working on. It's very easy to understand doing fractional work. And we have tens of thousands of people in the network today that are excited about doing fractional work. It's harder for founders to really grasp, not just in theory, but the practice of how can I incorporate a fractional leader into my business successfully. And that's the next big nut for me to crack. And what I'm going to be focused on for 2025 and hopefully, many more years after that.
I'm going to give a big plug. If there's one thing you should check out on Taylor's Fractional Jobs site, is go check out the playbooks. These are blogs and write-ups that he's done. You're interested in understanding how a fractional job works, how to get the leads for it, the tax benefits of fractional work, and a whole piece of this.
Huge
Stuff going on here. Some of them are very obvious, but some of them are also really into details that you probably didn't know about. And I can only imagine, by the way, I'm visioning the future of fractional jobs as a lot of different fractional employees potentially helping out in certain functions, which was my question. Okay, right now, today, in the near term, what is the most important fractional opportunity that you need for your organization? Because I'm going to answer
for me specifically.
I'm going to answer, yeah, and I'm going to answer, and for the listeners, I'm going to explain it from my business, and I want to hear yours first, and then I will share mine.
Okay. If the biggest need for me is we'll call it either a sales focused marketer or a marketing focused sales BD person that can really help me understand how to drive leads and acquisitions for the higher side of the marketplace, attracting more companies. That I'm doing a lot of that right now, and that's this is a perfect. It's that's something I'm not an expert in, right? That if I had any, I'm bootstrapping this, remember, right? So if I had the budget, this is literally the first thing I would be doing is bringing in someone who is an expert who can help me out part-time, aka like a fractional head of BD, let's say. But that's my wish list. That's like number one on my wish list right now.
Yeah. So I'll go back. The original one that I needed when my company was about at the stage where yours was ironically all of the bookkeeping and invoicing and accounting stuff of the business, which is actually how the person I'm working with now for a long part of my life actually is the line of work that she focuses on. Most people know this. We'll keep this off the name. But today, my fractional job need is totally different. And it's funny because I have used, people like on Fiverr or whatnot for certain small projects and whatnot. But what's really interesting believe it or not, from a social media marketing point of view, we've gone in and out. We have teams that from our production side of the business that edit a ton of stuff, and we've got a full slate of people that are focused on that. But for some of the other stuff, it's definitely a little more ad hoc, and we know that we have certain projects that we need with that. That's where that particular fractional function is there, with eventually the goal to make it a full-time person type of thing. So yeah, it's without a doubt in my line of work what's needed most. So really cool. And what I beg all the listeners and viewers to do is look at your business and think where this fits immediately now, because I do believe that I think most people don't go to this well because they're thinking from an old line of school and a different way of thinking, or they're not thinking fractionally because they don't think that function can be done this way. Go check out fractionaljobs.io and do this. See, have I given enough of a plug? I think I've done a good job. All right, Taylor, you ready to go down Fun Street here on ThriveLoud?
Oh, let's do it.
All right, man. We're going to start off with some really easy, basic stuff before we cruise down Fun Street, and that is, I would like you to share with the listeners, is there an all-time favorite movie that you love to watch, or if it's on, you are just automatically hooked in?
I can think of two. I'm going to go with Gladiator is the first one that comes to mind. I think it's a classic, and it's like, I find it supremely motivating and like just pumps me up.
And you said there was another.
There's another one. I don't know why I'm saying this, but it's Legally Blonde. I have a soft spot for the movie Legally Blonde.
By the way, it's a great movie. It is a good movie. She's amazing. In it. Yeah.
It was playing on high rotation on Comedy Central during my college years, and so I remember it just always being on in the background. And yeah, I have a soft spot for it.
It's a good flick, and I mean, I don't know if they even made a Broadway musical out of it, which
I did hear this. I have not seen it yet.
Yeah. The Are They Gay or European song and number is one of the funniest things you'll ever see. For those who've ever seen it, it made me literally laugh in my seat. It was really well done. But anyway, with that, we're going to cruise down. Fun Street, and we're going to do what we call the Speakeasy Pub Crawl. We're going to stop at all the fun little places that mean the most to you, the cool hip places that only you know about, because they're all what you are all about. So here we go, Taylor. Here we go. Of late, Taylor Crane, is there a song that's kind of like your jam, or one that pumps you up right now that's on your playlist?
Oh man, I've been listening to an artist called Perturbator, and there's a song in particular called Neo Tokyo, but it's really it's like kind of like a listen to the whole album thing, not just a song. It's like a cross between techno and metal. It's wild. I don't know that I recommend it to the average listener, but it is one that does not fail to pump me up.
Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Like an egg, like a bacon, egg, and cheese egg sandwich on a bagel.
Okay. Favorite dessert?
Anything cookie related.
Okay. Like a chocolate chip cookie, or any cookie related?
Yeah, I mean, like really anyone, but like, yeah, give me a chocolate chip cookie for sure. Yeah.
An activity.
Actually, even better, an ice cream sandwich. There you go.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm a big fan of the what is it called, with the cookie and the ice cream sandwich? Oh my God, my brain just did a whole chipwich. I love a chipwich. It's one of my.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. An activity you wish you did more of?
I wish I played more tennis.
Okay. An activity you wish you did less of?
Oh man, I mean, I wish. I mean, like, I look forward to the day when I'm not working as much as I am right now. That day is not today, but I look forward to that.
A new activity, one that you've recently tried that you like so much you want to share with all the listeners and viewers that they should try.
I've started taking calisthenics lessons, or like calisthenics coaching, I suppose. So calisthenics is body weight only exercises. It's like, if you see it, it's just like the coolest handstand stuff and like pull up crazy thing. It's just like so cool to watch. And I'm terrible at it, but I just started taking lessons.
Taylor, if I could snap my fingers and you could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
I'm in Bali, Indonesia.
Were you there recently, or?
I spent, so like after I had that tumultuous like first company and sold the whole thing, I needed like a long break and away from work, and I lived in Bali for 6 months.
Gotcha.
It was it was the best time of my entire life. It was just incredible.
Those places are hard to leave, but I do understand it.
Yeah.
Taylor Crane, Fractional Jobs. Everybody go check it out, fractionaljobs.io. Hey, man, thank you for coming on ThriveLoud, inspiring work that you're doing. We got some people to connect you with, by the way, which we're going to give a quick shout out to the hosts of Startup Different, because they are asking about having you on the show. So you're going to come here first, and then we'll go there next.
Cool.
So,
that sounds great. Let's do a road show.
You got it, man. Well, Taylor, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for everything you're doing, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lou. Appreciate it.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at ThriveLoud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at ThriveLoud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at ThriveLoud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.